Hi, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and thanks for watching. Well, we have an action-packed show today. We have the Pennsylvania Auditor General who drops by for an important conversation. Then we turn to immigration and our popular financial literacy update after these words.
This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers, a fast-paced, unrehearsed weekly discussion with and about the leaders who shape your world. And now, here's your host, Terry Madonna.
Hi, welcome back to the program, and again, thanks for watching. Well, we have with us today for a special interview the Pennsylvania's Auditor General, Jack Wagner. He used to be a senator. You gave it up for a different job.
I did, Terry, and
General.
I'm honored in it, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing.
Well, he's an elected statewide official who, are you in your third year now?
Yes.
Third year, you got another one to go, and then you'll come back at another time. We're going to talk about your political future. You might run for governor. We'll talk about that later. Am I allowed to say that? Might? Maybe?
Well, I'm running for re-election next year. I can assure you of that.
But everybody talks about the fact that you're a potential gubernatorial candidate down the line. But look, I know you're here to do something else. All right. Gasoline prices. $3 a gallon. I've had experts on here who say it could go to $4. Are people getting what they paid for at the pumps? You recently did an audit. Let's talk about that.
You can't be sure in Pennsylvania that you're getting what you pay for.
Wow.
A recent audit that we completed actually began in last August when gasoline prices in 2006 were over $3 a gallon. Obviously, they dropped and are back up again. But we initiated an audit in all 67 counties of Pennsylvania to determine whether or not the Bureau of Weights and Measures of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania was properly inspecting gasoline pumps. And basically what we found out was that, and we went to over 2,000 gasoline stations, looked at over 15,000 pumps. We found out that in 1 of 5 gasoline stations, at least one or more pumps has a missing or outdated inspection sticker. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, under law, must inspect every gasoline pump once a year for the quantity that a person is purchasing. In other words, if you buy 5 gallons of gasoline, are you getting 5 gallons of gasoline? And basically, we're not meeting the mandate of the law of doing those inspections. But the most revealing aspect of our audit was that we as a Commonwealth, we as a state, in doing these inspections, do not inspect for quality of the gasoline.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. That's an important point. I mean, we have these different grades. How do we know what grade we're really buying, except if when you take off, your car sort of chugs along and doesn't do what it should or doesn't sound right. But is there any method to ensure that?
The last time we inspected for quality was 1999. In other words, octane rating, whether or not there's any water, sediment in the gasoline. There have been problems in Pennsylvania with bad gasoline. It's rare, but it has occurred. And today, with the high-performance engines of automobiles, the electronics that are part of the engine process, it's very important that there be high-quality gasoline. More importantly, it's important that the public's getting what they're paying for. So our audit recommends that the General Assembly enhance the existing state law to require random periodic inspections for quality.
Right. Now, what is the fundamental problem here that, as you point out, 20% of Pennsylvania's gas stations had at least one pump with outdated or missing inspection? This is in your report, which I'm looking at in front of me. Is the problem that the Department of Agriculture does this, yes or no?
Yes. Okay,
they do it. Is the problem that they don't have enough enforcement officers, or that they appear to be lax policy-wise? Meaning someone saying, this is the plan, we got to go do it.
Two issues. Number one, they did not have a sufficient number of people, and it wasn't directly a result of the state's inability to have enough people at that time. It was the fact that counties were giving up the responsibility and only had to give the state a 30-day notice. So a big county would say, we're no longer doing these inspections, and we do the inspections in the majority of counties, about 45 out of 67 counties. And they would give us a 30-day notification. Therefore, we have to hire additional inspectors. Second issue is we were doing this in an antiquated way. Our inspectors would actually go out with a 5-gallon drum, pump 5 gallons of gasoline, take the drum and deposit it in the central tank at the gasoline station. There's a much more efficient way of doing that. With a small tank truck,
right.
You pump 5 gallons at every pump, then you deposit it in the central tank. So our audit recommends more efficient ways of doing the job,
I want to get
and more personnel to do it.
I want to go to those in the next segment, but before I leave that, you said something that, you know, taught government for a lot of years, spent a lot of time on state government, that I didn't realize. The counties have the original jurisdiction over these inspections, and under Pennsylvania law, they can surrender that to the state?
Within a 30-day period.
Not,
all they have to do is notify state government. Approximately 35 counties are inspected by the state today.
okay.
The remaining counties are inspected by the county jurisdictions. Obviously, counties have said, why should we pay for this service when the state can do the service? So many counties are giving up that responsibility.
All right, thanks for this great update. When we return, we're going to turn to an important topic, immigration. It's never thought it would be in Pennsylvania. We're dealing with farm labor, immigration reform. It's a huge subject. After these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Pennsylvania Medical Society. Doctors and patients, preserve the relationship. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Hi, welcome back. Well, we're holding the Auditor General over fast-paced, unrehearsed. I want to make sure before he leaves today that he has a chance. We have a chance to get to this very important point about octane and ensuring that when you go to a gasoline pump and you pump the gas, you're getting the octane that you pay for. Go ahead.
In Pennsylvania, you cannot be assured that you're getting what you pay for.
Well, that's not good.
And that's a major finding and recommendation in our audit to change the Pennsylvania law to require annual random inspections for quality, octane and other elements of quality at every gasoline station in the Commonwealth. The public, the customer deserves that. Now, Joe Markozik, the chair of the Transportation Committee in the House, has introduced such a bill. I would like to see that bill passed by the end of June.
Are you optimistic?
I'm optimistic. I spoke with, in addition to Joe, Keith McCall. I spoke in a bipartisan way with some Republicans who are in support of it. So,
yeah, I mean, who would oppose this? I mean, is it the folks in the gasoline?
Yeah, you know, the gasoline companies have not opposed it also at this stage. So they, I believe, want the public to be reassured that the product they're getting is a good product.
Yeah, I mean, why would it seems we ought to get what you pay for, and
yes. We're one of 4 states, Nebraska, Alaska, and Ohio, and Pennsylvania, that do not do quality or octane inspections.
All right, great update. I want to thank the Auditor General coming in for our special interview. When we come back, now we're going to take up immigration and farm labor. It's an important topic. We'll do that when we return.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Pennsylvania Credit Unions, where people are worth more than money. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the State System of Higher Education. 14 state-owned universities. The state system is the largest provider of higher education in Pennsylvania. And by the Hospital and Health System Association of Pennsylvania, working towards a healthy Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back to the program. Well, you may be aware agriculture is the biggest industry in the state of Pennsylvania. We tend not to think of it related to this big immigration debate. We're not going to get into the pros and the cons of the immigration debate. We can do that at another time. But how it relates specifically to Pennsylvania agriculture is an important subject, and joining me to talk about that is Gary Swan, who's the Director of Governmental Affairs and Communications with the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau. Gary, thanks for coming in.
It's great to be on the program, Terry.
All right, let's get to the heart of this. We don't tend to think much of Pennsylvania agriculture involved in this big immigration debate. And again, we're not going to get into the pros and the cons of the policy in Washington, but why should Pennsylvanians care about this in terms of, and America care about how agriculture in this state relates to this big debate over illegal immigration?
Two reasons. We have one of the largest fruit and vegetable industries as part of this huge agricultural industry in Pennsylvania. Fifth in apples, fifth in pears, eighth in strawberries, go down the list, it's huge. And agriculture has for decades needed to rely upon immigrant workers to plant the crops, to harvest the crops. And our effort, Terry, is to get the American people to broaden that vision about the immigration reform debate, to put in the agricultural equation.
Right.
The second portion of that is that we will not be a safer nation if we simply close the borders, and if it means we forfeit our food supply to other places around the country. And thirdly, by the way, this drives a tremendous amount of Pennsylvania's economy.
Yeah, one of the things that we hear about, in this debate is what American workers are willing to do and what American workers aren't willing to do. But your point is, the fact of the matter, regardless of this debate, is that much of the agricultural harvesting is done by immigrant labor of some sort. By immigrant laborers,
mostly seasonal, but we have a number of people in the dairy industry. Like it or not, farm work is hard work.
Oh, yes. I live in Lancaster County, so I know
farmers
about it.
pay more than a decent wage and are unable to attract efficient domestic workers, sufficient domestic workers.
So you want this issue resolved and resolved quickly, because your argument is this is crucial to the economy of the state, and because we're so important.
Sure.
Nationally important to the economy of the country.
And that's why agriculture, and we would suggest, is separate and distinct from other industries. I want to make the point that farm families believe, like everybody else does, our borders need to be enforced. They're not in favor of amnesty.
Right.
But if we wait to a second phase, we go through the first phase, agriculture can't wait for a second phase that may be 2 or 3 years away. We need a verifiable, fair, legal guest workers program for agriculture.
There's another component to this. Because these products are grown locally, they're probably less expensive. Secondly, we have some control over the quality of it. If we have to allow this production, or if this production ends up being done abroad, both the price and the quality will suffer. Is that a bad argument, or am I right?
It's a great
or
argument, and people identify with that. The security at the border is an important issue, but the security of our food supply is also a huge issue, not just in terms of what the loss of our industry would mean to our economy that employs so many other people. Right. We have one of the largest food processing industries in this country, more than 2,000 food processing plants.
I know this is difficult to estimate, and I see these figures all the time about how many illegal immigrants are in the country. We see that figure, 12 million. Do you have any estimate about how many illegal immigrants are working in Pennsylvania, in the farm industry, particularly in the produce side?
We don't know how many illegal are. I would say this, that most farmers do what they're supposed to do. They check their Social Security.
Oh, I understand.
But some, that's right.
I got it.
That's
Whether they're false documents
and they often will get a flag somewhere near the end of the harvest season indicating that there's a problem here or there, but we don't have any way of knowing.
But I mean, do you think it's a quarter or a half? Or
it would only be speculation.
It would only be speculation. Okay. I mean, I hear different figures about the numbers, particularly down in the southeastern part of the state. Well, actually, I guess out in Adams County, which is Adams, a pretty big fruit
Adams County, which most of your viewers wouldn't realize, is the largest apple-producing county in America, not just in Pennsylvania, but in America.
Before I let you go, I want you to talk a little bit about the projected annual loss if a guest worker program isn't approved. I know that that's an important economic component to your argument. Go ahead.
Well, the big picture is, and we've estimated that as much as $100 to $150 million would be lost in Pennsylvania. But again, those numbers are, are wild predictions. The fact of the matter is, it hits the farmer at the home level. We haven't invented an apple tree that will produce other than at a certain time.
Yeah.
And our growers out there have relied upon immigrant labor who are reliable, who are hardworking, who come back to farms, by the way, year after year.
So what you're saying in conclusion is that you want Congress to get believe me, we all do for different reasons, to get this done.
Get it done. We
Safe,
also
secure borders, a guest worker program.
Identifiable system, a verifiable identification system.
All right, great update. All right, when we come back, it's financial literacy time after these words.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by Highmark Blue Shield, changing the way health plans work for business with a variety of plan options for employers and more choices for employees. Information is available at highmark.com. Have a greater hand in your company's health. And by the Pennsylvania Healthcare Association, the future of long-term care. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Builders Association, building today for a better tomorrow. And by the Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, bringing educational innovation and freedom to the children of Pennsylvania.
Hi, welcome back. It's time for our popular financial literacy update with our friends from the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association. Joining me today is Jim McCormack, who's the president and CEO, and we have a new chairwoman, I'll get that right, of the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association, Diana Roberts, who's been on the program before. She's also the CEO of the Hershey Federal Credit Union. Diana, let's start with you. New chairman, new administration, new set of policies. What are you going to keep, and and what's new?
Not new, Terry. And first of all, thank you for having us on the show.
Well,
but really, what I plan to do is continue the good work that the Pennsylvania Credit Union Association has been doing, especially in community service. And along those lines, the financial education in the schools that we're doing, as well as the Better Choice program.
All right.
Also, I guess this one would be my personal one, is to make sure that more Pennsylvania consumers have access to credit unions and the benefits of being a credit union member.
Sure. Well, let's talk a little bit about a couple of these programs. You know, we've talked a lot about these programs for young people, over the last several years, and I think that's, of the things we do, I think they're really valuable because we're training for the future. We're working with young people to understand how important financial literacy update. Give us a quick update on where these programs are.
Well, with working especially with the youth, Terry, areas of financial literacy, we have 11 schools throughout the Commonwealth that have credit union branch offices in them, with 2 more on the way. This past school year, we visited over 14,000 school people to put on financial literacy programs all throughout the Commonwealth.
Yeah, and you're doing these, I noticed that one of the things we've talked about, this is a good time, by the way, to do this review. We got a new, credit union has a new chairwoman. It's a good time to sort of take stock as well as look at where we're going to go, or where they're going to go. One of the things that we deal with, particularly with young people, is when they go to college, they're on their own a little bit, and all of a sudden they go in and they find an array of choices in front of them about credit. Credit cards, ATMs. I mean, this is pretty important stuff. I mean, young folks can get into some pretty serious trouble quick, right, Diana, or wrong about that?
No, they can. It's very easy to get credit, and they have to be careful about what they're doing. One of the figures is that students have had lots of activity with that, and we need to make sure that they're not getting into the bad things that they should be doing.
Some of them, as you point out, 80% of use checking accounts, 62% ATM cards, 65% have a savings account. Then it goes down, but half of them have a general credit card. Boy, that's an increase over the last couple of years. Yes, no?
Yeah, a major increase, and one thing that we're beginning to stress is the area of electronic fraud.
Yeah.
And especially for these young people, understanding basic principles about keeping your account number, PIN numbers, and everything safe.
Well, I guess I don't. My wife wouldn't, and we've talked about this before. Was a victim of identity theft. I guess, are people stealing the identities of young people? You get much of that in your credit union? I don't.
We haven't had a lot of
mostly people that have money, right?
That use their card a lot. And,
yeah. Well, okay. What other program do you think that you want to stress here as you move into your new term?
The Better Choice program.
Let's talk about that.
Which is
Good
an alternative
program.
to payday lending. It really is something that can help consumers in Pennsylvania. The main thing is it's designed to change behavior.
Yeah.
And that's one of the very good
Yeah,
parts
I mean,
of it.
I noticed that the payday lenders have been doing some advertising across the state. At least I picked that up. I don't know how much. Maybe you're monitoring it more than I do. And I mean, I think the real danger the high interest, or maybe it's both. One of you can help me out. Is it the high interest rates that you have to pay if you particularly miss a payment, or is it the fact that folks borrow more than they probably should, or is it a combination of both? Either one of you.
I'd say it's a combination of both. Some people just get into a rollover sort of thing. They never pay one off, and they're constantly borrowing another, and the interest rate on those sometimes over 400%.
Over what?
400%.
Our viewers out there, 400%. Go ahead. Did you want to?
No, and Diane is exactly right. We want to change behaviors, but this program is not really meant for rollovers. It's really meant to assimilate them into regular credit union and banking services, right, Diana?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, in the Better Choice program, I mean, is it mostly about who are you trying to reach? I mean, is it the population, the low-income population that's basically doing this, using this, and what are their options? I mean,
well,
tell me what their options are.
It has to be for employed people because they have to have a paycheck.
Yeah.
So it isn't necessarily low income, but people that are living paycheck to paycheck.
And that can be people in any socio-economic group.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
Our initial study, I mean, we're really shocked that indeed, as Diana mentioned, it's working class people that do have a job that just get caught up payday to payday.
Yeah. You know, I think when, one of your other executives, Mike Wishnow, was on, we had this conversation, and he corrected me, and I'm just having one of those moments that I remember that I made the mistake of assuming that it was just low-income folks, that it really does involve a whole range of demographics. Yes?
It truly does, and we will have initial studies on we have 53 credit unions that have signed up for the program. 31 are actively participating. In July, August, we'll have an initial study done.
All right, great update as always. Good luck in your new term. I presume we'll hear more from you on this program. All right, we'll see you next week for another edition of Pennsylvania Newsmakers, and as always, stay well.